What if the end of the world wasn't a surprise, but an appointment written into fate? In Norse mythology, that end has a name: Ragnarök. The final chain of events where the old order collapses, monsters break free, and the gods march toward a battle they already know is coming. This isn't a random disaster. It's prophecy closing in, step by step, like a storm you can see on the horizon but can't outrun. And here's the terrifying part. Even the gods can't cancel it. Because Ragnarök isn't just the last war. It's the moment every hidden fear becomes real. When the wolf Fenrir finally snaps his bindings. When the world serpent Jörmungandr rises and the oceans turn violent. When the dead begin to move and the sky itself feels wrong. The universe doesn't simply shake, it starts to unmake itself. Somewhere in Asgard, the watchman Heimdall stands at his post, listening to the worlds like they're holding their breath. He knows the sound that matters most isn't thunder or battle. It's the sound that announces the end. And when that moment arrives, he lifts the horn Gjallarhorn. A call so powerful it reaches every realm, and the gods understand instantly. This is it. No more delays, no more bargains, only the final battlefield and the price of destiny. So in this story, you're about to witness Ragnarök from the first omen to the last flame. Who fights, who falls, and what rises after the world goes dark. It starts with a cold that feels personal. Fimbulwinter arrives, winter after winter with no real summer in between. Snow doesn't just fall, it stays. Crops fail, hunger spreads, and as the world grows colder, people grow crueler. Old promises, family, law, honor begin to snap under pressure. Neighbors become enemies, brothers turn on brothers. It's as if the human world is rehearsing the same collapse that's coming for the gods. While mortals spiral into chaos, the cosmos begins to crack. The sky loses its rhythm. The sun and moon, once reliable, feel threatened, as if something is chasing them harder than before. The stars look wrong, dimmer, unstable, like the night itself is being erased. The earth shudders with earthquakes strong enough to make even the gods feel the tremor in their bones. And somewhere deep in the structure of reality, the great tree Yggdrasil quivers, an ancient sign that the worlds are no longer safe in their places. Then the locked horrors begin to break free. The wolf Fenrir, bound long ago because the gods feared what he would become, finally tears at his restraints until the bindings fail. His hunger is not the hunger of an animal, it's the hunger of an ending. The kind of hunger that wants the sky, the light, the breath of the world itself. In the sea, the world serpent Jörmungandr, coiled around Midgard like a living boundary, rises from the deep. When it moves, the oceans don't simply wave, they rebel. Coastlines vanish under surges, floods tear through the land, the old borders between land and water collapse, because the serpent is part of the world's structure, and when it shifts, everything shifts with it. And beneath everything, the realm of the dead stirs. Old doors loosen, old chains weaken. What was contained no longer stays contained. The final days aren't announced by a single event. They arrive as a sequence of impossible things becoming normal. Then the warning finally comes. On the edge of Asgard, the watchman Heimdall hears what no one else can hear, the sound of fate arriving. He raises Gjallarhorn and blows a call that shakes the 9 realms, an alarm so absolute that every god understands instantly. The last war has begun. The gods don't panic. They prepare. They gather with the knowledge that this is not a battle for conquest. It is a battle for meaning. Odin, the Allfather, does what he has always done. He chooses to meet fate with open eyes. The gods arm themselves, not because they believe they can win the way mortals win, but because refusing the fight would be a betrayal of everything they represent. And then the enemies arrive like a storm made of legends. From the burning realm of Muspelheim, Surtr marches forward, an ancient giant of fire carrying a blade that glows like the end of dawn. Behind him comes the force of flame itself, the kind of heat that doesn't warm, it destroys. Across the seas, the dread ship Naglfar is said to appear, carrying forces tied to death and ruin. And alongside these armies, betrayal walks openly. Loki, no longer a companion of the gods, emerges as an enemy. Proof that Ragnarök is not only about monsters breaking loose, but about bonds finally breaking beyond repair. Even Bifrost, the radiant bridge between worlds, cannot withstand the weight of what's coming. It fractures, then breaks, because the old pathways of the universe were never built to survive the end of the universe. The battlefield becomes the center of everything. The air is thick with ash, salt, and prophecy. The ground feels too small for the forces standing upon it. And then destiny begins pairing names like a list written long before any of them were born. Odin faces Fenrir. This is the moment the mythology has been screaming toward. Wisdom versus raw, unstoppable ending. Odin rides forward, not as a god hoping for mercy, but as a leader refusing to flinch. Fenrir lunges with jaws that feel wide enough to swallow the sky, and Odin falls. The Allfather is devoured, and the world loses its oldest strategist in a single terrifying heartbeat. But fate always demands a second strike. Odin's son Víðarr steps into the gap left behind, silent, focused. He doesn't mourn during battle, he acts. He confronts Fenrir and brings the wolf down, avenging Odin and proving that even in Ragnarök, some debts are paid in full. Nearby, thunder meets poison. Thor charges toward Jörmungandr like a living storm. The serpent rises, enormous, twisting the sea and sky into chaos. Thor raises Mjolnir and strikes with the full weight of thunder. The blow lands, Jörmungandr falls. But Ragnarök does not allow clean victories. The serpent's venom hangs in the air like a curse. Thor staggers forward, only a few steps, and then the poison claims him. The defender of the gods falls not because he was weak, but because this war was never meant to end without sacrifice. Elsewhere, fire meets a god who represents fertility and peace. Freyr confronts Surtr, and the clash feels like the last stand of the old world's gentler hopes. But Surtr's flame is too ancient, too absolute. Freyr falls, and the fire giant advances, because Ragnarök is the moment when destruction stops being a threat and becomes a certainty. And then there are the duels that feel like the universe closing its own loops. Heimdall meets Loki, the Watchmen against the Trickster, duty against chaos. Their fight ends with both of them falling, as if the final balance of the old age must die with them. Tyr meets Garmr, the Hound of Hell. Courage collides with Death's Guard, and neither walks away. By the time these clashes finish, the battlefield is no longer just a place, it's a verdict. And then Surtr delivers the final sentence. He raises his blazing weapon, and the world catches fire. Not a local fire, an ending fire. Forests burn. Halls collapse. The sky turns into smoke. The sea boils and rises. And finally, the land itself sinks beneath the waves, as if the world is being erased and rewritten at the same time. For a moment, there is only silence. The kind of silence that comes after the last page turns. And that's when the story prepares to do the one thing you don't expect from an apocalypse. Begin again. And that's the moment Ragnarök reveals its true shape. Because in Norse myth, the end of the world isn't the final page. It's the fire that burns the old order away so something new can rise. After Surtr's flames consume everything, the land sinks into the sea, and for a heartbeat, it feels like nothing could possibly remain. But then the waters begin to settle, the smoke thins, and the earth rises again, green and renewed, washed clean, as if the world itself has been reborn. In this new world, not everyone is gone. Some gods are said to survive or return. Odin's sons Víðarr and Váli remain. Thor's sons Móði and Magni live on, carrying the legacy of their father's strength into the next age. And in one of the most haunting twists of all, Baldr and Höðr return from hell, stepping into a world made new, as if even tragedy is allowed a second chance. And humanity doesn't vanish either. Two humans, Líf and Lífþrasir, are said to endure through the catastrophe and emerge to begin life again. Not as conquerors, not as heroes, just as survivors. Proof that even after the gods fall, life refuses to end. So if you ask, who survives Ragnarök? The answer is bigger than a list of names. Ragnarök is the story of a universe where fate is real, where even gods cannot escape their final battle, yet meaning still exists in how they face it. Odin falls, but he faces the wolf. Thor dies, but he kills the serpent. Heimdall sounds the horn, even knowing the cost. They don't win by avoiding destiny. They become legends by meeting it. And when the world rises again, green, quiet, and new, it leaves you with the final message of Norse mythology. Even the end of times is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the next one.